ever since Prop 22 passed in California in November of 2020 and went into effect January 2021, ever since then, the SEIU and a bunch of unions, union shills, other people, they've all been fighting to get rid of Prop 22 because they couldn't unionize. They couldn't do this. Well, we always laughed the whole time because you can't unionize anyway. I mean, by definition, you can Google it, you can grok it, you can chat GPT it. You can't be in a gig app or doing independent contractor work and be in a union. I mean, some independent contractor work might have opt-in unions, but nothing can be forced. You can't be in a forced union.
Yeah, like a guild, like how like the Screen Actors Guild, because like actors and musicians, they're technically independent contractors, but like they have like the Screen Actors Guild and all Directors Guild and all that stuff. So
because they don't want one person in it, and that's why they make these weird standards. So I mean, like when we get to that, so first thing is first though, in 2024, a court case that was filed like a year before that by the SEIU challenging Prop 22, saying that basically it was breaking the California Constitution because you can't, they couldn't have enacted anything that talks about money and how workers are defined and say that they can't organize. And again, this was, it's kind of a first time case, right? At the time, because it's like, we've only had independent contractors and this, and California had just gone through this weird AB5 thing. And then they put it to the people for a vote. And even in that state, 60%. So by 7 million votes, Prop 22 passed. I mean, you would think in California it wouldn't have passed, but it did. And people recognized, I ain't going to go without that service. No way.
So you're saying the unions want to overturn prop, but it's like, how do you overturn a prop? I think
so. Here's what happened.
Another prop, right?
But here's the thing. So when they were saying that it's unconstitutional, that was their challenge to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court said, "Nope."
The California Supreme Court.
Yes.
Okay.
But this is solidified. This is constitutional, so it can't be challenged again. And it did something, went the extra step and said, in fact, Prop 22 is now instituted and locked. So basically, Prop 22, because it doesn't say a number, one of the challenges was if it had said like, $15 an active hour to go up $2 every year, something like that, that would have been different. But they put a percentage, 120% of minimum wage for active time. So the way that the California Supreme Court saw that part of the challenge was, well, as minimum wage goes up, so does that. Duh. Yeah. It just follows along with it.
I know.
So they made it very public.
A union,
right? Like, and they also didn't
lobby for a higher pay raise unless they think they're dumb enough to think that they can just convince Uber, Lyft, or all these companies to just raise their pay on their own. But it's like, they're not going to pay you a dime more than they have to
and especially not after Prop 22. They can live with it, and that's what they can live with, but they're not happy that they did that. So the bottom line is the Prop 22 thing stands forever. That is their pay. So the next cause became that Rideshare Drivers United out of LA, spearheaded by a union shill,
right?
Nicole Moore.
Yeah.
But if you guys want to look her up, go ahead. I normally don't even mention her name. She has been on the podcast once. We didn't have a lot to say.
I'm sure she's not watching now, though.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe.
You guys should have a debate or something.
She's not.
She wouldn't do it.
I'll just put it out there in case anybody wants to share it with her. She's not smart enough. I mean, first of all, too, like I had some people, some of the people that I talked to out there, Karen Anderson, and even like the John Lopez's, and some of these people really dialed in. They're aware of her and they don't do gig work. So They actually were the ones that told me, that she is she earns $260,000 a year for a union, right? And I didn't. They like showed me all of the evidence, dude. She goes to these rallies in torn t-shirts and blue jeans and says she's a rideshare driver who's like next to living on the street, and she pumps her hand in the air till she gets arrested. But she makes $260,000 a year. You guys can look it up.
She's a performance artist.
She's a union shill. She is the
Yeah.
definition of a union shill. She is to get people activated. But the other thing is, and Sergio even said this, and he has her on sometimes, but he even said, dude, the problem with her is every time she does something, she gets 10, 15 people out there. Like, you're not organizing people. Nobody's showing up. Nobody wants this. So my point is, the SEIU and these shills and these unions and whatever, they said, listen, we need AB 1340. AB 1340 was designed to allow the capture of unionization while allowing the gig workers to be independent contractors. So first of all, right there, you've already broken the rules and the laws. And I mean, wow. Okay. So now you're allowed to unionize, but you're an independent contractor. You've got Prop 22, so you get 120% of the pay of active time of minimum wage. I mean, this is like, you're going to need a PhD to be in the gig economy out in California. And so now it's like, they were all stoked. We're going to get this union. And part of the language in there really sucks because I don't know what they're going to consider active drivers, but whatever number they come up with for active drivers, and I do think it will be still very hard to do this, but this is proof how much they know it sucks. Once they have 10% of the drivers, every driver's unionized.
That doesn't make any sense though, because like, what if you only drive Uber, once in a while?
Then you have to completely be out of the program, and they might not be able to have those people be allowed to be on.
Yeah, it makes no sense. Like, what's the point of being a union if you're doing a job that it's like you can just work it whenever you want? It's like you have assigned hours.
So that's a new thing that they're now starting to debate around. That's like the only thing they thought. So they thought on a 1340 passing because they're like, Newsome will sign this, and they've been for years going, he's on our side, the SEIU, all this, and he did sign it. But the problem is the same day he signed SB 371, Senate bill, which if you weren't familiar with that Senate bill, that was a crazy one that nobody thought would pass. So it's almost, we've talked about this before, like when you have it depends on the state you live on, but a proposal or whatever, like one of those side things that you're going to have to vote on. So sometimes they attach something crappy to something good. So if you pass this passes too.
That was that Simpsons episode where Krusty becomes a congressman and they just paperclip something. And he's like, well, it's paper clipped.
Yes, exactly. But they take something they know they can't pass. But then here's the perfect example of Newsome being a scumbag again. He takes 371, which is just the polar opposite of everything. I'm against all this, but I'm really against 1340. I mean, I think that whole unionization was a joke. And now you got Prop 22 locked in. So because here's the other point of it. That shouldn't be able to happen. But before even talking about 371, what does a union do for you? They are going to take money from you, by the way, that we've already seen. But like, what is that? So union bosses usually fight for your pay and for your working conditions. Your working conditions are your car. That's on you. Your pay now cannot be touched because the Supreme Court of California solidified it for life. You're 120%. Shut up.
I've been seeing
cannot be fought for.
I don't know if you're on Instagram, like rideshare drivers, and like all the gig workers, like all those leftist companies are on Instagram, and they've been posting about this, and I just been blasting them in the comments, like, this thing's a whole scam. Like your pay is locked in, set in stone from Prop 22,
and that's the article you said was from 2024. Just go respond that to all of them. So, you should probably read this.
I guess the union is going to lobby the government to just raise the minimum wage. And it's like California is one of those weird states where like the minimum wage varies by city or even like county by county.
So California has $16 an hour, which is actually the common one throughout the state, to $19.88, which is San Francisco. So it has that full spectrum. But here's my thing, Chad. Let's say that they got rid of the different levels. Let's say they made it $20 an hour minimum wage. And then let's say that they did fight them and they got it to $30 an hour minimum wage. Here's what happens, guys, in that scenario. Uber and Lyft and all the other gig apps just bring on more drivers and give you less active time. You'll still make the same. You're not being paid by the hour.
Yeah.
You're being paid by the active hour, and you're going to lose the active hour, and it becomes more expensive. And we all know that when it becomes more expensive, even though it's the people keep using it, it does go down in volume. You're not going to have as many rides. You're going to have more drivers, and there's not going to be much active time to be had. But beyond that, so really, when this passed, even Nicole Moore threw a fit because I don't know if you know this, but the day that they were in there, she was supposed to have a seat in the room with Newsome and everybody else. They literally locked the door. I heard her on Show Me the Money Club, and I love those guys, but I have to laugh at what she was saying because she said she was literally outside pounding on the door to get in. And I was just laughing. I'm like, why are
Were
you
there
telling this
cameras
story?
on
It
her?
sounds horrible, dude. You sound like an idiot.
If there's cameras behind her, I'm sure that's why.
Well,
News
but you
cameras.
still look like an idiot. You
She's
got
like
shut
a
out, dude.
politician.
You're not getting in.
A politician, you know.
But okay, she's not a politician. Anyway, so they in that room, they make 371 happen too. 371, by the way, takes the insurance that for uninsured motorists, and then what's the other big one? That maybe just uninsured person too, or whatever. I don't know. There's some other things in there too, but instead, so here's the old way where Uber said everybody's heard this in every state, but we're getting screwed on the insurance thing lately. Well, so are we, the drivers. Insurance are just way up, but they were having to have $1 million in coverage and $60,000 per rider. Now with SB 371, they only have to carry 300,000 and 30,000 per rider. They just devalued their citizens by 70%.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it brings down costs and they can actually.
Well, and that's you did read
can,
that, didn't you? That
if they
the
can,
company said, "Yeah, this will help us charge less." Do you believe that?
I mean, I don't believe anything that they say, but it's like I want to believe this, you know.
But do you really think it'll bring down costs, or do you think they'll go, the other